just got a few more weeks left and going to be graduating, I believe, on September 3rd.
Stress!
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm a CODUP grad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went in 2015. So
Okay.
I feel the pain.
The early days.
Yeah,
She was one of the guinea pigs.
pretty much.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a little different though, since I think we were the first cohort to be completely remote.
Yeah. How was that? How was that remote experience?
It's been a learning experience, but I think everything has gone by pretty smoothly. And I'm kind of glad I went through with it, because before I was a little, questionable about it, because I really wanted to have that CODUP experience and be in person. But the way things were set up, being on Zoom throughout the day and, being on face-to-face on video chat, I guess, to kind of emulate it, things did go pretty well so far.
Nice. Did you find it easy to get the help that you needed on your projects?
Yeah, all the instructors and everyone, the student fellows and whatnot were, always available if any questions were needed, and never really had much trouble seeking help.
That's
really
great. That's really good. Hey,
Yes,
Ramon.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Where do you hail from?
Me? I'm from McAllen, Texas, but I've been in San Antonio now for like a bit. And I'm in the same class as Michael and Noah. He's like in the call like right now. And we're all in capstone and it's pretty crazy. So
Yeah, capstone's rough. So are you in a full stack camp or front end?
yeah, so we're in the full stack Java course, and yeah, we've covered a lot the past 5 months, and it's been a wild ride, but happy it's about to come to an end with capstone and then on the job search then. So
That's cool. Java, I hear, is pretty hard.
I think at first it is, but I think as you work through it more, of course, it becomes like easier than in Java 3, at least in the curriculum. That's when things start to slowly come together. And then you discover this thing called Spring Boot, and that just makes your life 100 times easier, makes it easier to write Java. So.
Okay, Scream Boot?
Oh, Spring Boot. Spring
Boot, okay.
It's a Java framework, so.
Kind of like Bootstrap?
Sort of.
Different?
I mean, it's pretty different from Bootstrap, but like it's like a kind of tomato framework. Yeah, so.
Cool. Hello, Jasmine.
Hi, nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you too. Are you currently in camp?
No, I graduated from CODUP San Antonio in June.
That's right. It has 2 locations now.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't been out that long?
No. Feels like an eternity, but reality hasn't been that long.
Yeah, 2020 has either been a blink or an eternity. It just depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
Hey, you see Jake.
How's it going, y'all?
Good to see you here.
You too. Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties.
No
trying
problem.
to figure out how to do it on my computer, and then trying to figure out maybe on my iPad. I finally got it working.
Well, we do have wiggle time.
Yeah.
So.
And Delaney, you're from Dallas, right?
Yep, I'm from Dallas.
Yay.
So are you in a boot camp or are you graduated?
I just graduated from CODUP.
Okay.
And so you're looking for full stack or front end?
Front end, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the UX world.
Thank you. I'm so interested in UX.
It is really cool stuff. I discovered UX while I was in boot camp. I had no idea it existed. I'd been doing UX for years and didn't even know it. I didn't know there was a thing called UX. It was just
Yeah, I love it.
putting people first.
That's next on my list for certifications for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool. So do you want to be a designer or an accessibility developer or a researcher?
I'm mixed because
human to human advice.
I love being a developer, but I enjoy the designing as well. So I just feel like I need to get the certification, and then I can decide which side I want to go, you know?
Yeah. Well, Cherri is a researcher extraordinaire.
Yeah, she was our tech in one of our tech talks. I enjoyed it a lot.
I presented to the CODA group that was graduating about how UX is, how developers can do UX and why it's important.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. Yeah, and if y'all are interested, our latest blog piece at uxsanantonio.org is about accessibility standards. And Cherri wrote that. She's writing a series. So the first one was to introduce why UX matters and accessibility. And then the next series, she's going to be introducing the WCAG and talking about how it's going to be updated this fall. Is it fall or winter?
Yeah, it's at the end of 2020, but then I'll continue on and break that out into how designers can use, be how designers can make things accessible, and then how developers make things accessible, and then what was the other? There's 3 of them. I can't remember now. But anyway, it's been a long day. So yeah, we're working on that series. So we're trying to get those out every couple of weeks.
Oh, one more thing. I have developed this little template for people who want to write about their experience in a boot camp, what they thought was really great, and what they're looking forward to, what they thought the highlights were. So if any of you are interested in sending me a write-up, and we could put it on our website, just a review, and let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, Adrienne, Susan, welcome. Richard. These are some of our UX people. They're great. All right. So Katie will be coming on soon. But have all of you joined our Slack channel? You all got it into the Slack channel? We have a Slack channel so that we can, stay in touch all day, every day. We like each other. So
I like that.
we have, let's see. Let me go ahead and do an invite. Share an invite link up here so you guys can just click it and see where's the chat button. All right, so I'm putting it in the chat right now. Y'all can click on that and join our Slack channel. And feel free to just start talking to somebody, or go look at the people that are in it. And if you see any of you guys in there, y'all can talk with each other and ask questions on announcements. There's a jobs listing as well, jobs channel, volunteer channel, and we have different projects that are going on from various times. So if you're like, I need something to do, somebody give me something to do, reach us, say here, give me something. So yeah, gotta remember your password.
Or set a new one.
Yeah.
Eternal challenge.
Set it as your as your pet's name or something.
Is Katie here yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Supposed to be networking. Supposed to be real loud. Everybody got a drink. Everybody got something.
Hey, Sinisa is here.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, hello.
Hi, welcome
How's it
in.
going?
Good,
Thank you
nice to
so
hear
much.
a voice. I've seen your face on LinkedIn so much, but I haven't
Yeah.
heard a voice go with it. So
Yeah, yeah.
welcome.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I've seen a few UXSA presentations through the UXSA channel and stuff, but yeah, I haven't communicated much, so probably should have more in hindsight.
Good to have you
Never
here.
too late to start. Thank you so much.
Sinisa got hired this
Oh,
week.
we're at.
Yeah.
This week.
We're at.
So they got well, yeah, I guess it's safe to say a bunch of us, Guardian Premier Solutions. It's like a small contractor company by Lackland Air Force.
Mhm.
And they got half a dozen code-up developers this week hired.
Oh, that's great.
And
At that
yeah,
one place?
yeah, one place. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh.
It was surprising. Yeah.
They hired a tribe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. Well said.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so hopefully there's good work cohesion, right off the bat, and we're fortunate to be in that position because that's important too, to have good communication and good workflow with people you'll be developing with.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So when did you graduate?
Graduated June 16th, I believe was the exact date. And ever since then, honestly, even before then, actually, well before then, to be truthful, I've been grinding away with applications and, yeah, just really kind of going at it, multiple applications a day, for multiple days of the week.
Yeah, your
and
job's
just
been
kinda
getting a
doing some
job. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know that
Well
feeling.
said. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. But I think that's honestly, if one of the solid 2 cents that I could give, just in general for tech related jobs is that persistence. That really is key because somebody's going to
the
give you
no
a
is not.
chance.
Yeah, the no is not personal.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that naturally can discourage people, and we're human. That's a normal reaction. But I totally agree with that, Cherri. It's to take that no and just use it as fuel to keep going, keep grinding until you find that yes. And
That's a great. That's an excellent comment, Cherri. Sometimes it's really hard to remember that.
Yeah, the first couple of we're going with someone else. What did I do wrong? You just can't help but feel that way, but you didn't do anything wrong. It just wasn't a good fit, and you probably wouldn't have been happy anyway. So.
No, I completely agree. To be honest with you, yeah, I'll be completely transparent. Like regarding a developer related role, I was told a few times already, like, well, sorry, you're a good fit, but culturally, but you don't have the experience. And that is a developer, somebody especially who's transitioned from a previous career that's not necessarily involved with software development can be definitely a hill to climb, an uphill battle. But the key is really persistence. Like just keep going at it. Just keep coding too. Keep getting better every day. And it'll pay off for sure. Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Well, Yasmin, we haven't heard from you. Welcome. Where do you come
Jasmine's
from?
a fellow code up.
Okay.
From the same cohort,
class?
actually. Fortuna, yeah. Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, for example, Jasmine did a hackathon thing from this company called Mintbean, and they do like hackathons, and Jasmine actually won best features, I think, on one of them.
Awesome.
Yeah. So stuff like that that's exactly, in my opinion, what people after graduating a boot camp should be doing. And something, just since we're on the subject matter, something recently, like the CEO even talked to our cohort after graduation, and he told us when he was hiring developers for different firms that he was in a position to do so. The one thing he would always check, and first and foremost check, would be that individual's contributions on GitHub or some sort of Git platform to see what sort of coding and what sort of programming involvement they're involved with on a daily basis. So in other words, the more code you spend, or rather more time you spend on coding and committing code, the higher your chances are of being given a shot by an employer, because that's really all they want to see. They want to see that you're coding, that you're committing stuff to GitHub and really kind of doing your due diligence, if you will, and trying to become a better programmer.
And that happened to, let's see, at our very first meeting, I think in January, somebody stood up and was talking about jobs, or maybe it's the second meeting. His name was Frank, and he stood up and he mentioned an opening, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but he mentioned one of his employees, Lizzie. She was in the meeting as well. And she mentioned, yeah, I have a bachelor in fine arts. And Frank looked at her and goes, what? I never knew that.
I didn't even look at her
resume.
So I'll look at her portfolio.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how that works, but I feel like it's so true. Especially somebody who knows what they want on a team, like there's so many applicants. They want somebody who's going to fit that piece, if you will. And yeah, it seems like just from putting out there that you're doing that, which is involved with software development, that you're programming when you can out of passion, it's a big step forward, I would say.
Yeah, I've noticed on LinkedIn that you are sharing what you're practicing.
Yeah, definitely. I'll build projects, and I did like a small beat maker project recently, and I just made like a little video of it and shared that on LinkedIn. I read somewhere that involvement on LinkedIn in particular can definitely, it's time well spent in terms of marketing yourself, because somebody from somebody else's post, or somebody that's friends with somebody else, is going to see it, and it's going to boost your chances for sure to be either approached by somebody, or somebody will spread the word of what they've seen you do, and that can usually result in like a positive networking connection and experience. So definitely sharing stuff on LinkedIn in terms of projects and stuff, I think is super good.
Yeah, and do encourage everyone who's here to connect with each other on LinkedIn, and definitely make a networking thing, follow each other, and share your input, your experiences. Welcome, Katy is here, and let's see, there's Jasmine and there's Yasmin, right? I don't know if we've heard from either of them. I know you bragged about her, but just wanted to see what you guys did.
Jasmine.
Yeah. What did y'all do before you went to Coda or went to development?
I was a pharmacy technician for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, before I went to Coda.
Okay.
I worked at Wells Fargo for 7 years. I was in banking and mortgage prior to going to Coda.
Okay. Anyone else want to say what you did before?
I don't know who else was in Coda, but I'll just say I did like corporate stuff, like with SaaS companies and stuff. But I never really worked at a role that I was super thrilled about, just to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
So this has definitely been a positive experience for sure.
Cool. Awesome.
Sarah, what about you? Video. Hello.
Hey, Richard, welcome. Good to see you here. He might be popping in.
Oh,
at 7.
Sarah said she's on the road. No problem. Just keep listening.
Okay.
Just
All right.
networking
Yeah,
a little
figured
bit.
people were, they log in and then they listen while they're doing stuff.
I'm hoping my friend Viviana, who started this whole thing, will be here tonight.
Oh, she had a question that she posted on the meeting.
Okay.
Question. Very good question. And especially relevant since, is there anyone here who is not from CodeUp?
Oh, you're not, Albert? Okay, tell us.
Yes, ma'am. I carpooled with Jake into the Zoom meeting. I'm an applications recruiter with TEKsystems.
Okay, great.
Okay, awesome. I don't think Richard attended CodeUp.
No.
But he is looking, and he's looking for tech.
Adrienne's not CodeUp. She's our new UXSA developer.
Hey, Casey.
Hello, everyone. Same thing with Albert. I hitched a ride over here, and I'm from TEKsystems. I'm a applications and also DWS recruiter, so I recruit on everything.
Good.
What's DWS?
It's like network services, things like that, infrastructure, things of that nature. So anything to do with building up a IT services or anything like solutions or any kind of business from the ground up. You have people that go in, lay down the cable, Cat5 wire, fiber optics cable, things like that.
Okay.
And then you also have like the desktop people that work on the desktops, deploy the virtual network, the VPNs, things like that. So that's what DWS and network is.
Okay, thanks. Katie's here. All right. I went into CodeUp after finishing a journalism program at San Antonio College. I kept ending up in the computer science department because I was covering a beat that was in the same hallway. And I would stare at the blackboard, or not the blackboard, the bulletin board. And it had so many cool things on it. And I thought, oh, I took the wrong road. But you know, I thought, I don't know. I heard about Geekdom, and then CodeUp sprung up out of that, and I was following them since they were in Weston Tower. At one time, Geekdom was the #1 tech co-working space organization in the world. At least that's what the newspaper article said. And so I just kept following them, and I visited CodeUp for about 1.5 years before I signed on. Because I just had to be convinced.
Yeah,
So
that's. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you drifted into UX writing, but we are very, very grateful for your coding background and your other experiences in UX. So
thanks.
Jump in and do whatever we need to do.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, similar to that, that's a wonderful accommodation in my opinion to have, like, you know, coding background, programming background, and then be able to implement UX research and UX knowledge into it. It's a really good combination for sure.
Yeah, I keep getting told that I need to learn Python.
Yeah, Python's wonderful.
Cherri, who is telling you that?
I'm not going to. I'm not a designer. I'm not a programmer. I'm a researcher. I'm trying to keep my boundaries.
I would say if it's a hiring manager telling you need to learn Python and you applied to a UX researcher job, I would run. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it helps so much. I don't know if y'all seen this or not. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see our portfolio meeting. It was a 3-hour-long meeting, and there was some great information on there on how to read the descriptions.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On the job descriptions, because it'll let you know what's going on with the company. If they say they're looking for a researcher, but you need to design and know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and okay, I'm not a unicorn. I'm gonna have to do everything for the price of one. That's not a place I want to be with a lot of pressure, you know. So it's really interesting that those job descriptions can tell you a lot. So go check that stuff out on our YouTube channel. And that's another thing, Paula, that we need to put on, is that we have a YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and a Facebook page, along with the meetup, of course, and then the Slack channel. So we have lots of ways to stay connected with us. Make sure you guys are following us there, and we can, you know, if you can't remember or need a link or something, just send us on Slack. Anyways, it's like, there's David. Viviana said she's not able to come. She started this.
That happens sometimes.
She said she's got homework that's due at 11:59 tonight, 10:59 tonight, so she's working. And she covered up. So we're going to record this. Have you already started recording, Paula?
I have no idea how to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, it says stop recording. I think it's automatically recording. Yeah, it's already recording. That's good.
Sorry. Just a minute. Is that coming over?
Julie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting the link. And
okay. She'll put it in the chat. Okay, so we are recording this so we can put it up on the YouTube channel for you to look at later, and for those who couldn't come. This was Viviana's idea, like I said, but she will benefit from this, so we can say hi to her. She was having a lot of trouble. She graduated from a different school. I don't want to say the wrong name, but it wasn't CODA. And so she went there, and then she's been applying to a lot of jobs, and she was having trouble with, I said, what jobs have you applied for? And she said, oh, I haven't applied to any. I'm too scared. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I don't feel qualified enough, and she's having an imposter syndrome quite a bit. And she said, I'm just trying to get my skills up to, you know, where I feel like they're ready to go. And she's learned practicing all these languages and doing all these things, and feeling like, you know, I got to be better, and I got to get more experience with all of this before I can even apply. And because she's making a career change, and because this is, you know, in the COVID environment, it's even more tough than it would have been before. So I thought this was, you know, helpful, as apparently there's some interest in it. So I'm so glad we were able to do this, and thank you all for coming. And for Katy and Jake and your carpoolers that came with you to help out, because this is really a need, I think, for you guys, and to help you get started, not just in a new career, but this is a new world, you know, altogether. And Katy and Jake have been, you know, in the thick of it, trying to place people and working with companies through this change. So I think they would be a great asset for you. And they have been doing a lot of volunteering for UXSA, and been there for us. So I want to thank y'all for doing that. And it was kind of a last minute thing, and y'all said, yes, let's do it. So this is not going to be too complicated. This is just going to be a good Q&A session and a panel for you guys to ask questions and all of that. So it's nothing really strict, but I wanted to introduce introduce a panelist, and that's Katy from AQUENT. She's the senior recruiting agent at AQUENT for the past 8 years, and built up UX, creative, and marketing teams for startups, global advertising agencies, and Fortune 100 organizations. She's currently recruits coast to coast for her Fortune 500 clients, but is local to San Antonio and has a special focus on recruiting throughout Texas. And she's even given my name, just to let y'all know, she's even given my name to several people, and I got hired on in Virginia, a remote position for a project. And I'm also looking for a job through them with a client in Austin. So we're going to continue that conversation tomorrow. So exciting about that. In addition, she volunteers as the membership coordinator for UXSA, and she's been under a little bit underwater for a while, so we haven't been doing a whole lot, but when she's not working or volunteering, you can find her with her family or trying out local restaurants. I'm sure eating out or ordering in now or redecorating a random room in her home. I like to do that too. I like to do lots of DIY. So Katie, welcome. And then we have Jake from, is it TEKsystems, TEKsystems? What's the proper way to say it? I say both.
TEKsystems.
TEKsystems, okay. So he currently works with the TEKsystems, digital and connecting San Antonio companies to the right people and design and development. And since 2014, he's formed a national network. He tapped for local expertise in different markets. And his experience with TEKsystems gives him a front row perspective on what companies want for hiring developers. Whether you're coding veteran or just getting started, he likes to share whatever he can to help further your career. And Jake and I have been friends for, gosh, 3 years, 4 years. We've had a lot of lunches, just saying. But it's been a great friendship, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. And if you want to introduce your ride-alongs, feel free to.
Yep, so I got with me Albert and Casey. Both of them have spent time in both the developer space as well as Casey was saying, the DWS space. So, but we're here to talk more about the development and see how we can help you guys out, whatever tips we can.
Great. So, and then I just wanted to let you guys know our next meetup is going to be our own Paula talking about the languages of UX and how we all need to discuss with each other. You know, as a researcher, I say certain things in terms and all of that, and then as a developer, you have your own language. Writers have their own language. Designers have their own language. So we all need to learn how to talk to each other. And so she's going to talk about that and the challenges. So be sure to sign up for that one on Meetup. We've just launched it today on the Meetup events. So hope you can make that. All right, and I will stop sharing. And then we can start our panel. So does Jake or Katie, do y'all want to start off giving a little, you know, overview, tips and advice and things like that? Or do y'all want to start with questions?
Well, I mean, I'm game for whatever. If everyone has particular questions and we want to jump right into it, I'm fine with that. For what it's worth, Sinisa gave a very, very good overview of a lot of the tips that I'd already brought notes on, and so it was really cool to hear that coming from someone, because that's a lot of that is I'm gonna probably harken back to a lot of similar answers for some of these questions, because a lot of it, to me, especially when you're first starting off in your career, it starts with a lot of the soft skills. It doesn't start necessarily with the technology. Those are just table stakes, right? You've gone through, spent a whole lot of time and energy and money learning this stuff. That is not lost on me, right? And now we're trying to figure out, well, how do you get that return on investment and get your first career or first job? But again, it's not necessarily all about the technology. It really does come down to more of the soft skills, interpersonal skills, really understanding the business. But I can get into that a little bit further with the questions.
Yeah, so Jake, I have a question. If you say that it's not really about the tech, it's about the soft skills, can you dig into that a little bit more, since there's so much fear?
There might be, you need to explain what soft skills are versus the, you know, hard skills, because that's a new term for some people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I do want to back up. When I say it's not about the tech, I don't mean to belittle that or take away from that. You obviously have to know that, right? I mean, that's just table stakes. You're going to hear that term quite a bit. When I talk about the soft skills, right, it's really a lot of things. It's hard to just narrow it down to a few. But going back to some of the things Sinisa was even saying, it comes down to the perseverance, which to me, I consider that a soft skill, just because a soft skill to me is anything that doesn't necessarily reflect through with just what you're able to code out, or if you're a designer, what you're able to design, right? It comes out in your expression with your your peers. It comes out with your expression with your employer. It comes out with the expression of folks that are just out in the marketplace and in your network. I think that when you're thinking about soft skills too, it's not just business acumen, which that is probably, if I had to come up with one top soft skill that I see a lot of senior developers not necessarily exhibit as much as they should, it's that business acumen, right? It's understanding the business of who you're working for, right? All of y'all are going to, whether you're in a job now or you're looking for a job, you're doing it for someone or something, right? Whether you're doing it with the customer in mind, with the employer in mind, with yourself in mind, right? You're still doing it for a certain company who probably, right? I realize not all of them are for profit, but they probably sell a certain product. And going back to what I was saying, a lot of developers, they struggle in understanding how, excuse me, they struggle in understanding how what they're doing, all these lines of code that they're spending so much time banging out, what is that actually doing back for the product, right? And when they go into a business meeting, which if you're not part of a company that's already including their IT departments and their coders actually in on business meetings, you will be soon enough, or else, in my opinion, a lot of those companies they just won't survive, right? But you will still be, as a developer, whether you're the lead or you're somebody who just started, you still might be called on and asked upon, and whether it's in a business meeting or just in a regular conversation that you're having with other employees around the company, you will be judged on what you know regarding to the business, not necessarily just how good of a coder you are, right? If you can understand the right syntax, or even if you understand the proper algorithm, I mean, that's all great. It is very, very coveted and very needed, but it all comes down to the business and having that conversation with business partners on a level that they can understand, right? I heard someone make a comment earlier, I think it was Cherri, about, everyone has their own language, right? Every role out there, every job title, they have their own language that they speak. But at the end of the day, the language they have to be able to speak is the business side.
And so that's the business acumen that you're talking about, just learning a little bit about the business and what makes them tick, and this focus on how what you're doing is making the company money, right?
Essentially. I mean, I found that it comes down to one of three things, and I say these things also realizing that if we're not already we're entering into an era where purpose is key, right? Where why you're doing what you're doing truly matters, and people will start recognizing, the customers recognize that about companies already, right? But still, at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to one of three things: making money, saving money, or mitigating or eliminating some sort of risk or redundancy. And if you can figure out how your role as a developer does one of those three things or more for the company, you can generally, at the end of the day, at bare minimum, justify your existence at that company and be able to say why you deserve to be there and why you should be there and why they need you.
That's good. Say those three things again.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's make money, right? Increase profit, drive revenue, or save money, right? And that kind of goes back to maybe redundancies as well. And all of these can kind of be interconnected as well. Or eliminating or mitigating some sort of risk for that company. An example being with you. Oh, sorry, Katie. It sounded like you were about to say something.
Oh, no, go ahead, Jake.
Perfect. So like an example, right? Well, we all know there's a pretty big financial institutions company here in town, right? And if you're going to go and you're going to get a job, say in their investment department, or maybe more likely their P&C environment, their property casualty insurance, it's not enough to just go in and learn what sort of code or what sort of language or what sort of platform that you're going to be working on, because odds are that's going to change, right? That stuff changes. It's changing faster and faster and faster each year. I mean, I can even say for some companies every quarter, right? But if you can go in and you can understand how the business model of insurance, whether it's specifically property and casualty or just insurance in general, that will just take you so far above so many other competitors that don't even necessarily put that thought in, especially on an interview.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, really good.
And I want to add on to Jake's conversation about soft skills. I 100% agree with him that business acumen is definitely important. And I think people learn over time. I think at the end of the day, what we should all be thinking about is how are the roles that we're playing in organizations impacting the business. But to go back to soft skills, like what I look for, especially in junior or entry-level candidates, is that ability to communicate to me what you do, be able to tell me your story effectively. And those are the soft skills often my clients are looking for as well. Can you walk me through the story of your portfolio through a case study? So really practicing how to tell your story and the stories behind your work is really critical.
Yeah, that was Vivian's question in the meetup page. She said, with so many of us coming out of boot camps, how do we differentiate ourselves if our portfolios look very, very similar?
Yeah, look the same, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question. I got that question a lot too. Every person's perspective and their experiences are their own. So you're going to be able to share and, you know, add your own color and flavor to your own story. So, you know, don't try to mimic what another person is doing. Be authentic in how you're delivering your story. It's your own. So, you know, that's how I tell people to stand out. Like, you can really differentiate yourself just by being you.
And like Delaney said earlier, she likes to do a lot of everything. So that's what people are looking for. But if someone else wants to be a specialist in a specific area, that's where they're different. So go with that, and that way your heart is in it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Don't
I
be
like to
afraid.
ask the questions, right? It is scary though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like saying don't be afraid is so easy,
I know.
especially being on the other end. But really, you just got to take that leap of faith and just believe in yourself and do it. I also think that outside of communication, I think Jake maybe alluded to this. Another soft skill is, you know, how you can work with others. I think, and I don't do a lot of development recruitment, so I'm really in good company with TEKsystems here because I think that's more of your niche. But I know in the creative space, it's definitely a team sport, right? So you need to be able to collaborate and work well and play nice with others. So that's another soft skill that I would say to work on if it's not already kind of an innate thing, if you really do like to work independently. And it might be different for developers. I'm not entirely sure, but I think throughout your career, you'll likely be faced with opportunities to be in a team setting. So, you know, working on that is something I'd suggest as well.
Yeah. And that took a while for me to develop. I have to admit, earlier in my career, I was like, you know, I can do this work. I don't need them to tell me how to do it or whatever. But then I learned in design and creativity, collaboration is the best thing you can do, because what somebody else says, you can bounce off of that and you take it from there, and it becomes its own thing. And just today I was, you know, working on one of my projects, and somebody pointed out something. I'm like, thanks for reminding me about that. I totally forgot. And then I pointed out something to them, and they're like, thanks for that. Can you go ahead and do that for me? And it's like, totally, you know, nobody's butthurt about anything. They're not, you know, egos have to go aside. You have to put away your ego when you're all in this together, and treat everyone the same as it, like you would want to be treated, and with respect. And everybody is going to overlook things. And I've gotten to where now I want everybody to, you can ask Paula, look over this and read it for me and make sure I didn't mess up, you know? And so I know she's going to tear it apart and not let me buy with anything. So you have to learn that collaboration is really important. So
yeah.
I just want to add on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
No, I just wanted to, I mean, that was a great point that Katie pointed out about the way that you communicate and work with others, right? And I think that it hasn't been any more prevalent than now. I mean, look what we're having to do right now, right? We can't do this in person. We're having to collaborate over digital means. that's a skill in and of itself, right? It really is. I mean, I can personally say I've had to learn, and I've been doing this for 7 years now, I've had to learn how to truly communicate on a daily basis, on an hourly basis with folks this way versus the old way, which was largely in person, right? And so I love that you pointed that out, because it's no more prevalent than it is today.
With that in mind, Katy and Jake, could each of you talk about the impact of Zoom interviews on the job search for developers?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? Jake, for developers specifically, I will let you tackle this if you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I really think that it regardless if they're a developer or not, it still presents challenges, right? Like a designer, a UX writer, a project manager, it's going to present challenges because if you've never done it before, right? And I know that I'd never done that before, but if you've never interviewed this way before, it can be very nerve-wracking at first, right? And I think that, you know, no one really wants to hear this, but at the end of the day, the practice makes perfect, even on interviewing, not just in our jobs, but in the interviewing itself, right? And I think that preparing with other folks, right, and doing a run through, find someone who, just like you might for a normal interview, find someone who can help you do a mock interview, do it over Zoom. Make the exact same environment that you're at least expected to be in, right? And also make sure that if you get that interview, you verify exactly what they're expecting of you on that Zoom, right? I mean, all the way down to just even the background, right? You want to take into account every little thing and almost try and be a perfectionist. Yeah. The other aspect is coding reviews, right? I've heard of a couple different ways, and I'm sure there's way more out there than even the ones I've seen, of them to do coding reviews via either right there live time, or maybe sending them something that they might have had them do in person in a room, right? There's just a lot of challenges that you might not be able to prepare for because you just might not be told a lot of those things, but you got to be audible ready, right? You got to be able to also just kind of roll with it if something does get a little awkward, because I can almost guarantee at some point it will, right? But being able to recognize that you've got a camera on your face and all they're seeing is your face, right? That you can exude so much more. You really can, in my opinion. You can actually, because they have to look at your face. They have to see you the whole time, right? Versus maybe being able to look around the room or read down on their paper. And you can really get across passion levels so much, not easier, but in a very different way, versus maybe kind of forgetting that, well, there's a camera on me this whole time, right? Whether it's a 30-minute interview or a 2-hour interview, where they're actually going to have you do a coding review, you're going to have a camera on you that whole time. So taking that into account and realizing that and preparing for it, that's really the biggest thing.
And I'll tell you something that helped me a lot. I got a interview talking points document together. I took a course this summer on business needs for designers, and usually, you know, we're trying to teach the business design thinking, but this was the opposite. It's trying to teach designers how to talk to business people, and the instructor gave us an interview talking points, and it basically just goes down a checklist, and you think through those questions ahead of time. If I'm talking to a recruiter, these are the questions I ask. If I'm talking to a company directly, this is what I ask. And you already know the answers, or it's right there in front of you. You've thought it through, and you're not caught on the spot, and you're a little bit more prepared. So I'll be happy to share that with you.
That sounds like an awesome resource, Cherri.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wanted to build off of what Jake was saying, though, about like the technology and having a camera on your face. What I've noticed is that when sitting in some of these interviews from the recruiting process is that it helps you to like remind yourself that you're all on an equal playing field now, because they're at the mercy of technology and you're at the mercy of technology. So if they ask you to repeat something, right, you can sit there and be like, oh, well, you know, we're all on the same boat here. So you don't have to act like all the power is in their court, right? So you're all on an equal playing field, and you know, in your own little comfort zone too, if you can think about it. If you're spending time, you know, like we have in the last 6 months or so in the same room, so just, you know, reminding yourself that yes, they're human at the mercy of technology, and you're all just trying to figure it out together is a great way to look at it as well.
I got an interview through Casey this summer, and I was getting all ready for it. I went to Walmart, bought a curtain because my computer won't accept the background, and I set it all up, and I was ready to roll, and I plugged my headphones in, and I had my Zoom ready. I was on time, and I did not put my headphones in my ears. And I was just busy looking at my notes and then I looked at the clock and, oh no. And I looked and there they're going like this. Yeah. I was horrified, but we all laughed.
Yeah.
And it was over in a flash and we just moved on. So, I don't think I told that to you, Casey. It actually did happen.
This is news to me, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I thought the client would have told you. Yeah.
I actually came in at number 2 for that job. Number 2, darn. But that just goes to show you can have a total technical freak out mode happening and you'll still have a decent return for the experience.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought I'd share that.
That's great.
Thank you.
I shared a link to that document in the Zoom chat, but also on the Slack channel. And it's got my answers in it. Feel free to plagiarize, whatever. But I did want to point out that there's one question in there, like questions about the company. And one question that's really resonated with interviews is, what do you find is the biggest challenge for your position that this role can help you with? And it puts it on them, like, how am I going to help you?
Can you say that again, Cherri?
So it's, what do you find as the biggest challenge for your position that this role can help you with? Or in some, you can say it in your own words, but I'll share that on chat. But they've all like, wow, like, yeah, it makes it, what can I do to help you do your job better kind of position? And they're like, wow, that's a good question. So I stole that from someone else. So you're stealing from me too. So. But anyway, hope that's helpful.
I hadn't heard that one before. That's really good.
Well, not to get too off of what we were talking, but I love that you pointed that out, Cherri, because that in doing it in your own words, right? Because I think that if you can, everyone wants to, you always want to have questions, right? You need to come up with questions whenever you're going in on an interview. And I think a lot of us have probably heard that before, right? But it really comes down to, well, what questions do I ask, right? And the beauty about Cherri's question right there, A, it shows that you care, right? They're immediately going to go, wow, I'm not used to getting asked that sort of question. But B, you're also essentially having them give you the answer to the test, right? Like you're having them say to you what you are ideally going to say right back to them in terms of when they ask, where have you done X, Y, and Z before, right? And you can tailor your answer to what their answer was. So being able to find ways to ask certain questions that also expose what the answers to the test, then that's an art.
Yeah,
but
and it goes back to,
to
whenever you're talking to them and you're saying, what does success look like in this role? That kind of tells you that person's idea of success in that role is how it helps them. So.
Wow. Very strategic. Tactical.
Yes.
Savvy.
Sneaky. Okay, so do any of you guys, we've been talking a lot, do any of you guys have any specific questions or areas that y'all want to touch on that we haven't touched on yet?
It doesn't have to be a specific question that you have off the top of your head right now. If you just want to talk about something that you're
challenges,
feeling, or then that up too, and turn that into a discussion.
Mm-hmm. This is your time. David, are you're new? You're new. You came in since we started. Do you have any put you on the spot.
David isn't David Runnels.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I saw this was happening, I was super excited. I've been full-time developing for about 6 years now, came through a boot camp, and am looking at probably moving from my current employer elsewhere. And so kind of knocking the rust off and listening to the things that are going on. I take recruiters' calls on LinkedIn every chance I get, even if I'm not interested. And sometimes even let them know up front that this may not be the role for me, but let's talk about it. Recruiters are very savvy about that and generally pretty helpful. So I find that great because every month to every 2 months, wind up doing at least a phone interview with someone. My questions I like to flesh out some is when we're talking about those soft skills and presenting those, I've been successful in my career because I have been able to pivot to learn new technologies, learn new things. I'm a cohesive element in our teams, making those come across. I've found that most employers don't like hearing, I can learn whatever it is you need me to know. Because oftentimes it's a critical need, so you need someone to step in. You know, if Java is not my primary language, they need someone who knows Java now. That's understandable. But how do you make that pitch the best way?
It's a really good question. And I think that it can be so hard to answer because it really does come down to who's sitting across the room from you, right? It depends on, I know, you know, everybody wants the magic bullet answer on this. And the hard part is there necessarily isn't one. You know, you're going to portray, sometimes you're going to portray yourself the way you feel like you should be portrayed. And this is to Katy's point earlier, being authentic. You're going to portray yourself and it's not going to land, right? And then you might do the exact same thing with somebody completely different in a different company and it's a complete 180, right? So I think at the end, being authentic and true to yourself, and if you do feel like you can learn anything, right? I don't think it's wrong to point that out necessarily, but I do agree with you in the sense that whatever they're hiring for, they're hiring because they have that need right now. So trying to stay as close to that, at least what that current need is right now, as you can in your answer, and that's always going to be best. But I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that, right? And then also acknowledging the fact that at the same time, it's probably going to change, or you're going to have to learn something new, regardless of if it's new for the market, right? It could be an older language, right? But you might have to learn it to be able to complete something 6 months after you get that job. And so I think being able to express that, less of an ability to learn anything, and more of a desire to learn anything, right? But also staying true to your true north, finding that true north of whatever it is. And ideally that true north for you lines up with what they're needing for that critical need. It doesn't always, right? But there again, I'm a huge proponent of knowing who you're working for and why you're working for them. And that doesn't just come with purpose. That also comes with being able to be authentic about what you want out of the career, right? And what you can and can't do, and just accepting that it might not land, right? And I know that that's not what everyone necessarily wants to hear, but that's my honest answer to that.
That's great advice, Jake. And I think it's you being realistic, right? And setting up the right expectations for David's answer. I would go on to say that you have to look at a job list like a wish list. Clients or prospective employers want a lot, but you have to really dig down and what are the core skills this employer is looking for. And it might be Java. And if you don't have that, but they've expressed interest and you're already at that interview stage, they've selected to interview you for a reason, even without Java on your resume, right? So I think to navigate that question could be like, okay, I don't know what a applicable language to Java is. Maybe it's .NET. I'm probably making a fool of myself, but let's say you learned .NET at your last job. You can pivot by saying, I don't have the Java skills you're looking for today, but this is what I did in my last role and how I ramped up learning .NET. This is how it impacted my role, the team, the business, and just putting, a story behind, something you did in the past that could really like I think Jake said this, not shine a negative light on that missing piece, but shining a light on other great things you did.
Thanks, Jake and Katie. Those are some great ideas. I think some really good reframing of those ideas. It can be real stumbling blocks for any of us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to say that was a great question and great answers too. I feel like that was super insightful.
Can I just say really quickly, because I joined a little bit late, but I saw that Sinisa landed a job. He posted it on LinkedIn today.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, they hired, he said, half a dozen people from Coda.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Small Coda party going on there. But yeah, just listening to all this, I feel like a lot of amazing advice from both of you. Yeah, I just feel like even if you are gunning for a particular position that's on the wish list, so to speak, which I think is a great way to look at it. Kind of what Jake was stating about being realistic, you know, to the chances and the probability of that happening. If you match the core skills that they're looking for, and for developer related jobs, you know, it depends on the company, as Jake was stating, like how much flexibility they have. So if they need somebody with a specific set of language skills right away, then, you know, if you meet that criterion, you can know that it's a realistic shot that you'll, you know, get that particular job on your wish list. But otherwise, again, I would just say numbers. It's a numbers game for sure, because you have to just really keep going at it until, you know, somebody gives you that shot, and then boom, from there you can strategize more concisely.
Cool. I want to quickly address the Q&A happening in the chat. Really great, Delane, question. I also sometimes have voice tremors. I am really, like, I get nervous even 12 years into my career as a recruiter and talking to, you know, Fortune 100 companies. I get nervous, and you can hear that in my voice from time to time. But I think that makes me human, right? Like, I'm a human, just like the person sitting across from me who may be interviewing me. I find awkwardness appealing personally. And I think the advice that Jasmine shared, maybe integrating that into your story, and, you know, if you feel like bringing attention to it to get over that elephant in the room, that could be a great position to take in an interview. But, you know, you're being yourself, and I get that. And at the end of the day, again, we're all human, and those nerves can get to the best of us.
Yeah, and sometimes if you just say, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm going to power through, you know, that kind of sets the tone a little bit too.
Yeah. I've gotten that before, Cherri, and I often just say, don't be nervous. This is just a conversation between two people. Tell me who you are, and let's have a conversation.
I love that. I don't even know that I could say it any better, but I just love the concept of we're all human, and that's going to happen. I mean, it's already happened to me a couple of times, even on this call, right? I mean, it will. I see head shaking. No, it definitely has. But it's just rolling through it, right? And kind of not letting that jam you up, because I can promise you, I don't care what level that person interviewing is at. Well, okay, maybe there are some folks who don't get awkward or nervous at all. That's great for them. But I can almost guarantee at that point, they've had that same thing happen, right? They've got other people that are maybe a step above them too, where they've had to go and deliver some news or maybe even an interview for themselves, right? That they might not necessarily know how to do that the best way, but it comes back to being authentic and just owning it, really. And if you do notice that it's kind of made the room a little awkward, then yeah, don't be afraid to throw that joke out there. The worst case scenario, right? And maybe not everyone's using this way, but the worst case scenario, is that it doesn't land and that joke makes them not want you. I doubt that would happen. That'd be very, very, I don't know. I don't see that ruining an interview. But if it did, to me, that tells you something right there, right?
Yeah.
That tells you
wouldn't want to work for me
about
anyway.
if you're really a fit.
True.
Exactly.
And you can say, I'll show myself out.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of developers, and I've never met one that didn't have some small amount of social awkwardness. So I think it kind of comes with the territory, and you shouldn't feel bad about it at all.
Introverts in now.
Yes.
I actually took my Myers-Briggs personality thing the other day, and I am an advocate with an INFJ-T personality, which was a little bit surprising to a lot of people because I think as recruiters, often people think, oh, they just talk to people. Obviously, that's a large part of my job, but I'm not that extrovert person who wants to be working the room. But I'm like that creative at heart. So to Adrian's point, like, yeah, I mean, we all do share some commonalities between us, and so just embrace them. That's the best that you can do.
And I'm an INTJ, an introvert, but that just means I get my energy from being alone.
Me too. Right.
And it is fun, and I do enjoy being around people, but I need some space after to recoup. So that's all it means. So.
Mm-hmm.
Just means you're a self-starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a quick question, but since we're talking about personalities, I'll just say mine. So apparently I'm an ENFP. I'm a campaigner. It says supposedly I have the same personality as Robin Williams, so that's pretty cool. But yeah. So like, I guess my question is, whenever you first get to your developer job, like what should you really be like focusing on? Like, should you do a lot of self-study outside of work? Should you be afraid to ask like questions to your superiors? I mean, I was just trying to get the brain juices flowing, so yeah.
Yes to all of that. I personally think so. Right?
Oh, I agree.
I think that the learning can't stop, right? And if it does, if you're only learning what is pertinent to your job right now, I don't want to say you're making a huge mistake, but you're leaving a lot off the table. You really are, right? And I think that a lot of folks, especially right, like when they're first starting their career, actually in a stage of, if you kind of want to shift your mindset around, you're in an advantageous spot because you're not, I don't want to say a blank slate. You obviously have skills. You've been practicing them for as long as you've been in the boot camp. But when it comes to the future and when it comes to what you want to learn, that's all on you, right? And that outside learning, whether you've already got the job or not, right? I think learning for the job you want eventually, even if that job is in 5, 10 years, that's one of the bigger keys, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, you want to have focus on what you are learning outside, but I don't think that it should just pertain to what you're doing right now. Now, if you need to get good at that, obviously, yeah, focus on that until you feel like you've gotten to a point where
master it,
you're confident, right? Yeah. And then figure out what else it is and take some shots with it, right? Maybe personally, right? Like I've even been looking at, okay, or what are the UX courses out there, right? What are development courses out there that maybe I would, now I don't know that I could ever be a developer. I've tried doing it. And my brain just does not necessarily work that way. And y'all are much smarter than me in that regard, I can definitely say. Do what?
Oh, you could totally do it, man, if you want, you know. Like
yeah, but you have to have the heart for it. That's what he's saying. It's like, yeah, I don't give it. And it's like I would love to be able to design, but I just do not have the patience for it. I don't feel like I have a skill level, and I don't have the passion for it. I like to research. I like to find out why people do the things that they do. And if it weren't for me self-teaching, I would not be where I'm at now. Because I was a producer, project manager type person. I tried account management for a little while. I tried sales for a while. I'm not cut out for those. I did not want to go to work every day. But when I started researching, I could not wait to get started. And that's where, you know, that's where you can dive in. I'm like, I want to know more about this, and self-taught, listen to podcasts, watch videos, talk to everybody. And now I'm a UX researcher. So I would not have done that if I had just followed what I was hired to do. So this is an example. You don't know if you love it until you do it.
Yes, and I think it's also knowing your strengths too, along with your passions. But Ramon, I wanted to answer the second part of your question, which was, when you get that first job, should you be that person that's asking a ton of questions? And I know Jake said yes, yes, yes. You definitely should be. You should be that sponge, ready to soak up any and all information. And I will be the first to say that, and I put it in the chat, to like always be learning. You have a craft, hone it, work on it. I think we all know how quickly technology changes. You should always be ahead of that next big thing.
Right. Yeah, at least dabble in it a little bit just to see if it's something worth pursuing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your guys' responses on the insight you just gave. So I appreciate that a whole lot. Thank you.
Something to add real quick, because somebody had said, I'm not sure who it was, but somebody had said, talked about imposter syndrome earlier, right? And that is a very real thing. Yeah. One thing I've found is being open to learning those new things and trying those new things, regardless of if they're immediately pertinent to your job, that will help the imposter syndrome go away. And it might sound, maybe that doesn't resonate or make sense to somebody. I'm just speaking from personal experience. As someone who's dealt with imposter syndrome a couple different times in my careers, I've had to shift to different areas and learn different things. Whenever you start to learn even things outside of what is, again, is immediately pertinent to your job, it starts to build that confidence in you, right? It starts to build, really, that's the word, confidence. It just starts to build your own ability to see what you can really do, right? And then you can take that and use that in so many more ways, especially being new in your career. Sky's the limit when it comes to that, right?
Yeah.
And I do apologize. I don't mean, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, bouncing things off of each other and other people in your industry helps validate your skill level. That helps a whole lot with your confidence.
And they're kind of already, you guys are already almost doing it right now. I mean, you're attending a user group, right, to find out how to get a leg up on, your competition. So keep doing exactly what you're doing. You're already networking with different people. It doesn't necessarily have to try to get over one other person, right? It could just be learning what somebody else that have had success in that one area and asking what they went through. Because the biggest thing is just asking the questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And, if they come back at you in a negative way, then, that's not the person you want to be talking to anyway. But finding somebody in your industry that has had success or, is already established in that company and seeing if they're open to talking about it is just a great way to, because they've already been through the ringer, so to speak.
I love that advice, Casey. I often tell entry level or people just graduating boot camps, like find people whose job you want to have, and connect with them, follow them, see what they're putting out on social channels. Obviously, LinkedIn's the biggest platform out there that we're using today, but I think you have to be careful though when you're networking and asking of others, because you want to make sure it's worthwhile to them. And I know we're all so busy, so really frame your reach outs or your ask where it's not just, can I pick your brain, but more like, hey, I saw this post that you made. I'm really interested in what you're doing at XYZ. If you had 5 minutes, can we chat? Just be a little bit, I keep saying the word human, just being a bit more, just conversational as opposed to just ask.
Great points. Yep, exactly.
And I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been in this technology industry for 14 years, switching jobs in between. But I have a mentor myself and called her this week because I just wanted to bounce something off of her. and see what she thought, and she validated my feelings. So it's always good to have somebody to do that with. And that's why
Yes.
we're here. That's why we're here. As UXSA is a networking group for everybody to, you know, to help each other.
Yeah, it's important to find your people, especially in a job search. I think, you know, surrounding yourself with other job seekers, like Cherri said, mentors or people that you find as, you know, influencers in your industry. Try to, you know, build yourself a little support system. And it's great, like what Cherri said, just being able to go to them for feedback and being able to practice telling your story or asking interview questions or answering interview questions rather. So yeah, that's some advice I'd give people, is find your people.
We have just a little bit more time. We're going to wrap it up at 8 o'clock, but if anybody has any other questions or comments or anything, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, this is David. One of the themes that I've definitely heard throughout our conversations is that fear of failure or not landing the job. One of the things that really helped me was I've just chosen not to believe in the concept of failure at this point in time. I just view it all as feedback. So in that situation where I'm getting feedback that I didn't get the results I expected, or someone else didn't get the results they expected, I get to walk away saying, what have I learned from this? How can I improve so I can get what I'm expecting next time, or they can get what they're expecting? Very freeing just to go, it doesn't exist. Failure is just not a thing. It's all feedback.
I love that. I often say rejection is just redirection. And I try to instill that in all of the candidates that I work with personally. This is exactly what you said, David. It's not failure. It's an opportunity to improve or learn, or, you know, take feedback and use it in your next interview. So yeah, great advice.
So Katie, do I need to cite you when I use that phrase, that rejection is redirection?
As the great mentor Katie said.
I got it from someone else, no doubt. I just use it. But yeah, you can't cite me. No, I'm just kidding.
That's awesome. Thanks for both of you, because you each said it in a different way. And I think depending on where we come from, it's going to land differently for each one of us. So thanks for chiming in, both of you, on those words, because words have a lot of meaning that we give it, right? Even the word fiesta in San Antonio has a different meaning for every single person who uses it. So rejection, redirection, failure, feedback. Thanks for using both sets of words, because it means something to everyone differently. So now I'm repeating myself and being awkward.
We've come full circle.
Yeah. Well, I hope it was helpful for everyone, and I'm glad we got to do this. And I hope it's helpful for those who, you know, watch this video later as well. And please do reach out. Katy and Jake and Paula are all on. We're all on the Slack channel. So, Casey, I'm not sure if you are. If not, you need to get on there.
I will be joining.
Okay. So, you know, we're here for you. And please also, Katy, you do a wonderful thing. You do what with the wins on Friday wins? What is it
I
called?
do my Wednesday wins.
Wednesday wins. Yeah. And then just posting in there what you've done, you know, Wednesday wins and things that happened. Good stuff. Celebrate your victories. Even if they're small, they're still victories. So do that, keep that up, and keep up with Katie's too. Add yours to hers, so we can all keep up with each other and what's going on. But yeah, so this has been great. I'm glad. Michael, did you get everything, all your questions answered?
Yeah, I guess I did have like one little question. So I just have like a few more weeks left to code up, and then once I get to graduation, I guess working on projects is kind of like a big part instead of, just focusing on learning new codes and whatnot, or languages. And so I guess for like a question for working on projects, should we kind of work with like groups or partners, or kind of focus on them by ourselves, or so that's just kind of like the question I had.
Is
So,
that, go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say, I always think you should work with groups, right? I do think that when you get into the job market, it really will depend on what your job is needing of you, where the company's at, right? How mature the IT department is, right? There's a lot of different factors that can play into it in the job market. But what I will say is, no matter what, at some point in your career, you're going to have to, going back to talking about collaboration, you're going to have to work with other people. And I think it would be a severe hindrance if anyone tried to really work on their own for projects, right? Because then you're only going to appeal or have experience to speak to working by yourself, versus one of the first questions that most interviewers come up with for developers is talking about where you've worked with some sort of team, right? And how you've collaborated with other individuals, especially in this day and age where we're having to do it this way, right? Collaboration and communication it's hard now. It's just different. It's different than what a lot of people have had to deal with. But what I can say is always try and work with a team. You get a chance to do that, I say err on the side of aggression with working with a team.
I was going to ask the question, Michael, is it basically up to you in your program to decide whether or not your projects that you're doing are individual based or group based? Like, that's your option?
So I mean, it's encouraged, to be coding every day and, working on new languages and such. And so like I have ideas for projects that I would like to work on. But I just was kind of thinking, because throughout the program, most of them had been, either paired programming or group projects. So I was just kind of wondering to like be one step above, if it would be kind of a little better to, instead of just focusing on that one thing yourself and being like an individual, instead like pairing up with a couple people and kind of tackling that project as a whole.
Gotcha. So you've done the group work and the pairing up already, and I personally would say follow what your passion is, and if you want to just code something yourself or produce this project that's in your head floating around, like why not just put code or just do it. Oftentimes I think if you need to bring another set of eyes in, that's a great piece to be able to add that collaboration that might be missing. But put your ideas on paper, code, or whatever the phrase is for developers. Yeah, I'd say do it.
And if it's something that you like, that's what they have the volunteer channel for on our Slack. You can just say, hey, I've got this idea. I want to talk to people about it and see what you think. And we can kind of work something out. It'll grow from there. And that's why we're here, is to help volunteer and help each other with projects. And, we've got designers, we've got writers, we've got researchers, we've got, lots of people that can jump in and help support you on what you're doing and give you feedback. So
yeah, that is true. Yeah, I chime in with Cherri on that. I've given some editorial feedback on several things that people were doing just for fun. So
practice.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can get validation of an idea, like Cherri said. And though it is a UX San Antonio group, that doesn't mean that developers don't belong, or that they're somehow second class, because no. Absolutely
no.
right,
UX covers everything. It covers the experience of the user, period, and that development has a lot to do with it. If it doesn't work, it's useless. So,
and as a developer, you're always going to be pretty much paired with a user experience designer anyway, so it helps to have that shared language. And like I used to be a front-end developer, so for me in my career, being able to sort of speak the same language and walk through the same logic has always been really helpful. And I've always been very impressed with developers who have an interest in user experience design. So it won't hurt.
Very cool. Thanks, Adrian.
I wanted to follow up on something Katy said. Katy said, put it on paper, which is brilliant. One thing I did not do that I wish I would have is committed to my GitHub account more. So if you're doing daily practice or doing group with works off to the side, any of that, commit it. It's a great way for not only recruiters, but more importantly, developers going to be working with to see the way you code, your style, the conventions you follow, how you've improved over time. And that's just something that's incremental that over time carries a lot of weight, and you really can't catch up. If I were to go back and pick up all the small projects I did and push them all tomorrow, I would just have a giant block of stuff I'd pushed in one day instead of spread out over years.
Yeah, good point.
And I wanted to address one thing that I remember Viviana saying is that she would look at the job descriptions and see that they needed 3 years experience, so she was afraid to even apply. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say, and I have to say this to a lot of people, is you really have to be strategic about your job search. Gone are the days of that spray and pray method of just applying to as many jobs as possible. Like, that does not work, especially in the time that we're living in today, when there are so many people looking for work, so many talented people looking for work. You really have to.
Competition is tough.
Yes, yeah, it is. And I think that, and Jake and Casey could probably attest to this, like, if we're seeing people applying to all of our jobs, like, that's a bad signal. There's no way you qualify for all of those jobs. I don't really even need to look at the resume fully to know that, like, you're not a writer, you're not a UX designer, and you're not a front-end developer all in one. So really be selective about the jobs you're applying for. When it says years of experience, sometimes you can take that with a grain of salt, and apply to those jobs if they seem to be, skill set matching up wise, but maybe years of experience. I would say be very careful applying for jobs that are really geared towards mid-level or senior developers, or whatever your line of work is. But yeah, 1 to 3 years experience, I say go for it, as long as, like, everything else on the job description seems to align with what your skill set is and what you're looking for.
Okay.
Yep. I would second that. I really would. I think that at the end of the day, well, if you're being strategic, to Katy's point, right, then that means you're also doing research on the company. You're doing research on exactly, like, the types of people that are at that company, right? And so I think going in and using something as simple as LinkedIn to go and look at the other types of folks who are working there and what their background was before they got whatever that first job is, right? Start to learn your target a little bit, right? That'll give you more confidence to, if you are a 1-year person, maybe submit yourself for that 3-year role, right? And I do agree with Katy. I don't think you should just go and apply to every single thing you see out there, right? Only apply to the things that do make sense. But if you can make sense of it, right? And maybe you just need that chance to go tell that story, I say go for it. Try it.
Yeah. I agree. And I heard, and I think often a lot of people who are joining these boot camps are pivoting in their career, right? There's a career transition happening. So you do have professional experience backing you up. How do you make that experience applicable to the job you're applying for? And a lot of what we've done, or y'all have done, I said y'all, you all have done in your career, there are transferable skills, right? So yeah, use those.
Great. Well, we are just 2 minutes before, but I think we've had a lot of rich information, and I hope it's helpful. Be sure to share that.
Can I say one thing, Cherri?
Sure.
I'll add one more thing before we wrap. I know how difficult a job search can be. I've posted about it a number of times on LinkedIn, how not only, you know, emotional, mentally, and physically exhausting it is. Be patient. It is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. I know people have said this a number of times, and I'm using, don't quote me on that, David. But, you know, be patient. There is a job out there for you, and just try to remain as positive as possible. And I think that comes with the support system that you can build around you.
Yeah. And I've been out of work since March, and so my tactic has been to set myself a goal to apply, you know, research and apply for jobs that I feel are interesting for me to go, you know, go for. I set up 5 contacts a week. If I get all 5 on Monday, then I'm, you know, I'm okay. I may do more later in the week if I feel like it, but I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't. So I just set a goal, and that's it. And I just work on my skills and work on my networking and things like that. So not a lot of pressure, because you can get in the rabbit hole and get really stressed out just searching for jobs all the time. It's really hard. But I just try to pace myself. And don't
there's a
take
lot
it.
of, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a lot of people in the same boat too. I mean, so many people have been laid off, and it's just really crazy right now. And it's, you know, it's just hard, and it's not you. Like I think Jake said earlier, it's like somebody said it was a numbers game, and sometimes it's just your number didn't come up. So
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for everybody for coming. I really appreciate all the great input and your questions. I hope this helped you, and know that we're here for you. And the conversation is not going to stop. Okay. So, and thank you, Katy and Jake and Casey, for your time. Very, very valuable. Appreciate it so much. All right. Well, all right. Well, thank you all, and have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you all.
That'll be a good one.
Okay, just so you'll know, I've never recorded before, so I really hope this comes out okay.
It'll be great. It'll be great.
Okay.
Tell that. So,
Okay.
bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Cherri, Paula, thanks for inviting us on this.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jake.
this was good.
That was great. I'm
you're
so glad we did it.
Well, you all know where to find me. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go grab something to eat, bro.
All right, thanks.
I appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, what do I do now?
Stop.